outside but big on the inside. A mini MPV, of course.
On this week's Driven, we put three very different looking multi-purpose vehicles through their paces. The futuristic Fiat Muitipla, the retro Chrysler PT Cruiser and the contemporary Nissan Almera Tino. Also, we've got exclusive spy shots of the controversial new Vauxhall Vectra being tested in Germany. And we're talking pressure and tread in our special report on tyre safety. But first, those mini MPVs.
Targeted at families, these smaller multi-purpose vehicles offer an intriguing alternative to the larger people carriers. The idea is simple. What you lose in size, you gain in clever design, maneuverability and style. So, which of our three contenders will come up trumps in this week's Driven 100?
I reckon your kids would be embarrassed if you dropped them off at the school gates in this. But this is one of the most future-facing MPVs to date. It's unique in the way that it seats 6 free across the front and 3 across the rear, thanks to this funky dashboard and gear knob stuck up here out of the way. And this car's feisty and real Italian to drive. It's one of our favourites on Driven, and I reckon this could prove hard to beat.
The Chrysler PT Cruiser is a lot more US than UK, that's for sure. An MPV? Well, kind of. Okay, it's only got 5 seats, but they do come out, and they are Texas 10-gallon size. Underneath, well, it's a boring old Chrysler Neon. However, it's those hot rod looks that pull the crowds. Would James Dean have driven one? Only if he'd had a couple of little rebels in the back.
Unlike the other two, the Nissan Tino has no character at all. It's terribly mumsy. But that might have something to do with the fact that the National Childbirth Trust had a hand in designing the interior. And to be fair, they've done a pretty good job. There's 20 cubby holes and nets all over the place, which are really handy. For the adults, they've had a stab at some fancy curves and some aluminium look-alike buttons. And it's supposed to be as good to drive as any regular Nissan.
Okay, it's time to start testing. And for family cars, it's got to be safety first.
We've all been there before. The kids are in the back of the car messing about, and suddenly you lose concentration for a split second. You look up to find all the cars have stopped in front of you. In a blind panic, you jump on the brakes to avoid the accident.
Now, all three of our cars have got ABS brakes, but which one of them will prove to be the best in a genuine braking emergency?
We've been joined at our test track by Ricardo, leading engineering consultants to the motor industry. With their scientific know-how and a load of fancy electronics, we're going to get an accurate measure of each car's brakeability.
Right, our first car is a Fiat Muitipla. Penny's going to get us up to 70 miles an hour for this braking test.
Now, this car comes with an ABS as standard, and you also get EBD, which is the left-right brake distribution.
It distributes the braking force to all 4 wheels. Clever trick stuff.
What are we doing?
Hold on to your hats,
70
boys.
miles an hour.
70 miles an hour and...
Oh, my God, at the end.
Brilliant. Oh, pretty good.
God, the mankers this car, isn't it?
Really feels good under braking, and we've stopped in 59.6 metres.
Right, here we are in a PT Cruiser, the ultimate Fonzmobile. Come and get wind it up at 70. Right.
Now, this car's got ABS, but the most basic model in the range doesn't, and that's not very good. It's also heavy at 1,600 kilos.
And that's not going to help when I brake.
Oh, it's squirming all over the place.
Really long brake pedal travel, really spongy, nasty brakes. Don't feel confident at all. Not impressed.
How about in the back there, Joe?
I'm not happy about being in it anyway. I just want to get out.
Now, we've stopped in 60.3 metres, which is 3/4 of a metre further than the Fiat, so it's comparable, but inside it just doesn't feel anything as good.
Well, let's give the Nissan Tino a try. Last of our trio, come and get wind it back up.
Now, this car does have ABS, it's got electronic brake distribution, and it's also got brake assist, which recognises a true emergency and applies maximum ABS.
Let's see if it does. It's 70 miles an hour. Crikey, it really does move about.
Lots of snaking under braking.
Yeah, but I tell you what, we've stopped in 55.9
It's
metres.
pretty good. It does feel nervous, though.
It really does. It feels
Lots
ever
of body-
so moving around, yeah.
Body twitching, but it's the shortest by far, isn't it?
Well, it is 2 colour lengths, so it has to be the winner. Although I would say the Muitipla does feel the most composed.
We also tested each car at 30, 50 and 90 miles an hour. At all speeds, the difference between the PT Cruiser and the Fiat Muitipla was marginal. The Nissan Almera Tino, however, was the winner at all speeds.
More on the Driven 100 later. Now, the first of two Driven reports on tyres and safety.
Whoa, 17 tonnes! And the only contact I got with a tarmac is an area of rubber about the size of my foot.
If you've only got a small amount of tyre rubber in contact with a road, you want to make sure that the rubber is in the best possible condition. So what about your car?
Well, that has a rubber contact with the ground about the same area as the size of the palm of my hand. And the faster you go, the smaller it gets.
Given this, tyre maintenance should be a priority, but according to a recent survey, only 1 in 10 of us have correctly inflated tyres. And nearly half of us are driving around with tyres so worn they wouldn't pass an MOT. So let's look how these factors can affect our driving safety.
Like most of the populace, you probably own a front-wheel drive car, and you would have noticed that your front tyres wear out quicker than your rears. That's because the front tyres have to worry about driving the car as well as steering it, so it makes sense to replace those. Doesn't it? Well, we're here at a specially designed test track that's being soaked down for us, and we're going to put that theory to the test in these two little courses. Right, now the first of our courses has got new tyres on the front and worn tyres on the rear. However, they are within legal limits. Now I'm going to go into this high-speed corner that's been specially dampened for us in 3rd gear, and all I would expect is a mild understeer. So I'll turn in. Here comes the understeer, I'm off the power, and immediately the car just spins wildly out of control. And the reason is because the rear tyres have lost traction and the front ones are tucking it in, and that's not what you'd expect from a car if you just put new rubber on it. However, I think I've got a solution. Right, now the second of our courses has got new tyres on the rear and the used tyres are on the front. I'm going to go into the same corner at the same speed and I would expect similar results. Going into 3rd gear, come into this fast sweeping corner, exactly the same speed. Here comes the understeer, lift off, but all of a sudden now the back is tucked in, the slide is much more controllable, and that's because the rear tyres are aiding the front tyres during the slide. I mean, if you can afford it, put new rubber all round, but if you can't afford it and you're only going to replace a pair of tyres, then make sure you put your old tyres on the front of the car and put the new tyres on the rear. It could save your life. Hands up those of you who over the last year have checked your tyre pressure. Well, I know I haven't. Have you? Well, you wouldn't believe how important tyre pressure is when it comes to economy, safety and the life cycle of a tyre. Now, the most important of those, safety, is where we're going to do our next test. We're going to see how extreme the tyre behaves, especially when you're aquaplaning.
On a bend at our test track, we have a section of water, 7mm deep and 20 metres long, the kind of large puddle you might run into on a rainy day. Now this car is travelling at 56 miles per hour. The tyres are at the correct pressure of 32 pounds per square inch. How does it cope? Pretty well, it takes the corner safely. This time the tyre pressure is down to 20 pounds per square inch. It's low, but easily done if you haven't checked your tyres for a while. Whoa, it has real problems taking a corner this time. Look how it drifts away from the bend. Next week I'll be looking at more problems caused by poor tyre maintenance. But don't wait until then, get down the garage and check your pressure now. I certainly will, Mike. Now, if you want more information about tyre safety and where to find the best deals on people carriers both large and small, log on to 4car.co.uk. Back to the Driven 100. And how well do our mini MPVs handle confined spaces? It's what they're designed for, isn't it?
MPVs are notoriously hard to park because they're so big and it's hard to see each corner of the car. So we're going to see how easy it is to squeeze our 3 mini MPVs into a tight spot where there's only 1 foot of room for manoeuvre front and back. And this can put even the most skillful of drivers under the most dreadful pressure.
Right, the Fiat Muitipla is the shortest car here, however it's as wide as a Rolls Royce. But can you squeeze it in that little gap, Jason? It's only about 9 inches front and rear.
Mike thinks that's 9 inches. Anyway, if you need any tips, I'll happily help you. Oh, now the feet is parking sensor. It's extra in this car. It's 50p short of 400 quid.
The only thing is I've got a bit of an idea where the rear of the car is, but I have no idea where the front is.
But it's the same problem in all MPVs, really. You can't judge where the full corners are. Now, as soon as the parking sensor does a constant tone, it means you've got about 8 inches.
Now, steering-wise, the steering's quite light.
How many locks?
About 3 turns. I reckon we're in.
You are in. Not
Now,
bad
rear
at all.
visibility is quite good. There's a nice window on the right. The rear window is quite large. The only problem is you can't really see where the corner is because the headrests are in the way. So, I mean, it's good.
But there's so much glass, it does give you the best visibility.
And how nice it is
And it's
for all
just
3 of us to sit here.
So cosy in the front, isn't it?
Next up, the Chrysler PT Cruiser.
Howdy, partner. Let's see if we can park this steer. Park the car into reverse, and straight away there's no beep. That's because there's no parking sensors.
The rear visibility, because of the massive C-pillar, I just can't see anything. I can't see where the corners are. I haven't really got an idea where the back of the boot is.
And the back is so high.
The front's quite easy to judge because that's slope-away bonnet.
No, I think the front's easier than the Multipla, to be honest, but the back's not very good. It actually doesn't park too badly, apart from the steering. I don't like the steering because it's just, you put 3 turns on and nothing happens. It's just not tight enough.
Finally, it's the Tino.
The first thing I notice is rear visibility is not overly good
You've got
because that massive rear pillar.
Here.
And when you're parking, you need to know where the rear of the corner of the car
is. This is exactly where you want the glass.
Exactly,
Right here.
How close am I to that?
Even from here, it's hard
Have a
to
look.
see.
Flatlined again, Jace. That means stop. Doesn't mean just keep going until you bump into something.
He's got a bit of margin. It's got a good turning circle.
Nice light steering.
Yeah, it is very light. I like
Do
it.
you like the driving position?
No, I don't.
I love it.
I think the steering wheel's a bit too low for me.
You've done it.
It's in.
It's in, but is it worth investing an extra £300?
Yeah, I think it is. I thought this was the most difficult, to judge where that corner was.
So the Fiat Muitipla with its fish tank windows slots into first place. Only just though, there really wasn't much in it. The PT Cruiser finished second, and poor visibility leaves the Tino third.
Interested in buying one of the Driven 100 contenders? Here's a quick guide to the best deals around.
For the Muitipla, most dealers should manage around £700 off the list price. After recent reductions on the price of the PT Cruiser, sorry, it's no deals. Unless, of course, you get an import. Then you can save over £1,000.
The Nissan Tino's also seen recent price cuts, but still expect up to £650 off with a dealer or a broker.
Coming up after the break, first pictures of the new Vauxhall Vectra, and Mike gets funky with the new Volvo S60.